stupider and stupider. Just stupider
I'm
and
going to be honest.
stupider.
I don't know if he's talking about me right now.
No. It's Thursday. Welcome to Brewing Controversy. I'm Lucas. This is David, and the right wing just keeps getting stupider. And we're going to talk about it a bunch tonight. But first, coming to you live from Nash Vegas itself. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing okay.
Huh?
It's about to be Super Bowl Sunday, and I work in a bar. So
right.
Yeah.
See, I'm over here, in my little sit on my chair and work my remote corporate job, making Super Bowl ad trivia for next week, and sharing our Super Bowl squares grid so people can win money and shit. And you're about to have to go through the complete meltdown of society. But how's the weather down there? Are you in the cold? Which side of the Sybil are you on in the South right now?
It's now 60 some odd degrees. Let me phrase that. It was 63 degrees earlier, and it's about to drop below freezing by tonight.
Yeah, that's neat. Yeah, we were in the 40s today, and they're supposed to have snow tonight, which is only going to be a difference of about 15 degrees. So you're going to get a more drastic.
It's Tennessee. It's always more drastic. I will say this, though. The one nice thing about this Super Bowl Sunday is Alley Pub is going to end up owing me about $200.
Why?
Because someone thinks that Mahomes is somehow going to figure out how to win this on one leg.
You have a bet with another bar?
Yeah, I do. Personally. Yeah.
A bet with the bar, or a bet with the people that were sitting around the bar at the time the bet was made?
I bet their managers that. Yeah.
Huh. Okay.
So, right. I'm looking forward to seeing Mahomes eat AstroTurf for 4 quarters, because that's what's going to happen. Is the Eagles are going to be like, he's going to be a little slower on that one leg. You know what I'm going to go do? I'm going to go help him sit down. I'm going to be a good person.
I paid zero attention to the sports side of this annual ritual, and only started to dive in on the ad side, and wrote all my trivia stuff today that I could write. I've got a couple things I have to wait for the game. Certain trivia facts may change, like the most expensive ad of all time that could be topped. Who knows? Nobody knows for sure until the length of some of the ads are fully released.
I will say this, like, at least on the media buy side, like, Kansas City versus an East Coast team really is the best possible solution. Or the only thing that would be better is Rams, Eagles, or something like that. Simply because it means that you
West Coast team, not East Coast team.
Well, right? Because here's the thing: Kansas City brings in West Coast and Midwest.
Yeah,
and then you have East Coast team in the form of Philadelphia bringing in the entire East Coast. You've got a good mix of media markets there.
What did I miss? I thought it was. Wait, maybe I'm wrong. Now I'm going to go search shit because I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about at this point. Yeah, okay, I was wrong. Nope, you're right.
And
I was completely geographically turned all sorts of ways.
Where did you think the Chiefs were from?
That wasn't it.
The Eagles?
I got my birds crossed. I thought it was the Seahawks. This shows you how much I give a fuck.
The entire
yeah, you're right. That actually is a good media buy, though. Like,
yeah,
you make a great point. It sucks up a whole bunch of literal middle America that normally might be yanked one side or the other, and now it's all focused. That's an interesting concept.
Yeah, that's why these ads are going for more this year. I would argue they just
go up every year. They go up like 10% every year.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying like one of the reasons why you're seeing what seems like an inordinate spend this year
Hmm.
compared to previous years is because they're like, oh, I can hit Texas and California
Yeah.
and everyone in between, and
Yeah,
I
but
the entire
that's not known far enough out to really make any actionable choices. Media buys for the Super Bowl are very much mass market appeal. That's been the problem is if you don't have a giant product or brand with giant universal appeal, it's an incredibly fucking stupid investment. Which reminds me, I should go find out if the oat milk people ever made their money back.
Ooh. Ooh.
Anyway, if you're high, or if you're here, say hello. And if you're high, say hello. Speaking of high and saying hello, here's Brian. Wait, sometimes you say what you really mean, folks. And this is one of Brian's many aliases he may or may not have for the Facebook jail occurrences that may or may not occur in his life.
One other note. So some of you may have noted that I had to change my background. It turns out YouTube really doesn't like it, even if it's an anti-Nazi poster. Even if you're talking about Nazis in a historical sense, the algorithm sees swastika and freaks out. So I've had to get rid of my anti-Nazi poster behind me and replaced it with another symbol of anti-fascism, the Ukrainian trizub.
Yep, there you go. Good job.
Slava Ukraini.
Yup. In fact, I did delete the no, I didn't. The extremely loud theme song for this occasion, David. It's still here. I will subject people to it for a moment. Yeah, that's it. Oh boy. So I guess that's the update. David has a new background. I've been busy as shit on every single one of the things that I do. So yeah, if you've never been here before, this is the part where we give the dissertation. First of all, you're looking at two guys who always did this, got together, had craft beer, talked about politics. But the nice thing about this space is it's unfiltered and laid back, and it's a place where you will hear people talking shit about what's going on in the world, because that's what you do over a beer. And no, this isn't the same guy that you would run into with either of us at the office or the grocery store. Well, maybe the grocery store.
Yeah,
But this is the place to cut loose and say what we really think, because whether people want to admit it or not, when they go have beers with their friends, they also say what they really think. They just don't have the balls to put it on the internet.
You just have to have a few more of these. What? And you'll see that once we get towards the end of the show.
Especially with the bottomless beer disposal unit that is my friend there on the other half of the screen. So the first thing we do in this little excursion each week,
you misspoke. Cultured beer connoisseur.
Right? Yes, it was code.
Yes.
So the first thing we do each time we get together, have a little happy hour, run down a few topics that are hot, with a few little quippy comments, and most of them are things that either emerged recently or they were just not quite big enough to do a whole segment. Then we will check out a beer, do a beer review. Then we will jump into our big topic of the night, which of course is the State of the Union. And then David has brought his pet topic to the table, which is the, if you can call it a response, the Republican response. So let's talk about this happy hour. David was once again gleeful over the misfortunes of Twitter, and I can't blame him. Take us through Twitter apocalypse, or Twitter apocalypse, or Twitter apocalypse, Twitter, whatever the hell it is.
Yeah. So three big things happened with Musk's new toy this week. First thing that happened that's pretty quick and easy is, so Musk had touted this deal with the Pentagon to supply Ukraine with internet access through Starlink. And of course, I'm sure when the Pentagon signed on to this, they thought, well, of course the Ukrainian military will use this. Well, apparently Pentagon funding is gone now because Musk, in his Putin bootlicking wisdom, has decided to cut access to the Ukrainian military. Now, SpaceX is trying to paint this as, oh, we never intended to do that. We were just providing internet access to civilians. And the Ukrainian military just got smart and started using our service. I'm going to be honest. Even like 4 farms over, you can smell that horse shit.
4 farms over. Yeah, I like
it. So they obviously one of Musk's little cash cows that he thought he had there that cost him a lot of money. It was not cheap to put up all the satellites. Where did he think he was going to get the money? Where do you go for stuff like that? The Pentagon has a giant checkbook where they can basically just be like, just tell me how many zeros. I don't really care. They're just Congress will just give me more money. It's fine. And literally they shit the bed so hard on this. It's incredible to believe. So that's number one. Number two,
so let me ask you this about the funding. It was Pentagon funding that they got or never got.
They were the idea was that apparently the funding was there, ready to go, and it was one of those things of, all right, here you go. As soon as you flip the switch, oh, no flipping switch. Okay, no more money.
Oh, okay. And how does it affect Twitter?
Well, at least it affects Musk because Twitter now is Musk. Well, Tesla is Musk. SpaceX is Musk.
Up his general value and his credit and his flow of cash. And yeah,
exactly. Because right now, the only reason he has Twitter is because he had this giant stack of imaginary money, monopoly money from
imaginary Tesla cash from
Tesla, ridiculously overvalued. Again, one of my pet peeves. How can a company with more debt than someone who sells 10 times the number of cars be valued more than the company that sells 10 times the number of cars? That doesn't make any fucking sense.
Yeah.
And Tesla, I mean, and now you have the fun new fact, of course, of customers coming back and pointing out, hey, my Tesla steering wheel fell the fuck off. Fell the fuck off.
So the next two hits on the Twitter front are video enhanced. So which one are we diving into first?
Let me start with this one first. So because the last one is we're going to do the video, but the other one is their ad revenue, which again, Musk needs this ad revenue to turn around and show banks that he's improving Twitter.
Yeah.
Well, it's down by 2/3.
Big improvement.
Why? Because a bunch of advertisers are like, we were okay when you threw the Nazis off.
Mm-hmm.
We were good with that. When you threw Trump off and all these other people, okay, that's good. That's good. We want you to throw them off. And now that he's letting, I mean, the fact that he even entertained letting Nick Fuentes back on the platform, you have a bunch of advertisers going, no, because, and again, it goes back to the fact that this is Musk's toy. He has no idea what to do with it, and he's getting all these other people to fund him playing with action figures on his lawn. That's what he's doing.
I feel like it's more than that. He's like Sid from Toy Story. He's like breaking shit and taping it back together and making mutated shit and like taking a magnifying glass and burning little holes in all the army men's crotches and shit. Like he's just he's an abusive pain in the ass.
Don't give him ideas.
In the toy box.
There's an Indian H-1B employee somewhere who is like eyeing a magnifying glass on Musk's desk right now, being like, "Oh, please, God, no."
Well, your last, I've got 2 videos that are Twitter related. Which one do we want first?
Do yours first, and then we'll do mine because mine's more academic, and people aren't gonna care.
Yeah, yours is really lawyery, which makes sense for the lawyer. So I'll have to pull us out of this because this is a now this clip that's a vertical clip, and We'll have to duck out of the video for a second, but this is a really fun exchange, basically with the big right-wing talking point of oh well, Twitter was busy working for the Democrats to manipulate all the content and interfere at the request and direction of Democrats. Well, then this discussion happened.
Earlier, you testified about a 2019 tweet that was about President Trump, and I think it was from Ms. Teagan. What was the tweet about?
Would you like me to give the direct quote?
Yeah.
Please excuse my language. This is a direct quote, but Chrissy Teigen referred to Donald Trump as a pussy-ass bitch.
Okay. Free speech. And what happened after Ms. Teagan posted her tweet? What did the White House do? What did the Trump White House do?
From my understanding, the White House reached out to ask that this tweet be removed. It was my team's job. This fell underneath the policy for abusive behaviors, and we evaluated underneath our insults policy. At that time, up to 3 insults were allowed, and so it was our job to determine how many insults were included within that phrase.
So the Trump White House reached out, not an agency, but the White House reached out and requested that you remove the tweet?
From my understanding, yes.
Okay.
So the
That's right.
exact thing that they were accusing
And
the left
yeah,
of.
so I
Which is
mean,
almost
and that's what
always the case.
it was so beautiful to watch that this entire hearing that was all supposed to be about, Democrats controlling Twitter, to all of a sudden having it become, wait, no.
And they called him a bitch, a pussy ass bitch. Can an insult come from telling the unvarnished truth? I don't know. Anyway,
it just blew apart their entire narrative, and leading into the next.
Well, before you do that,
this.
I want to praise
Yeah.
that congressman. We need more of him.
Yes,
we need to clone him.
It did get pointed out now that that pussy ass bitch has now been read into the congressional record as a description of Donald Trump. Which
only in the Trump era, only in this branch of the timeline. I hope it's all real, David. I hope quantum mania is actually like connected to our reality, and Kang just resets us. Because, I mean, help me, Jonathan Majors, save the world, please.
But leading into the next section, I want to point out the stupidity of this is, when you're in a congressional committee, you should know the answer to a question before you ask it. When they did January 6th and they put people in front of cameras, they already had a pretty good idea of what these people were going to say. Now, there
Right.
might have been some new bits and pieces thrown in there. There might have even been some shockers. But for the most part, we know what they're going to say. The fact that Republicans have
theater.
the fact that Republicans have even put on this show and they don't already know the answers to the questions that they're asking, it proves that these people are utter fucking morons. I mean, it's like to a level. They don't know how to govern. They don't know how to govern themselves. They don't know how to. They literally have zero self-control, zero foresight. It's shocking. It's literally, if you're looking for someone, you know what I'd like to do if someone wanted to do like walk into a congressional Republican like party and just casually just be like, cocaine. I just love to see like literally like a Colombian cartel would be like, and I know that I can start selling 2 keys a week to the Congressional Republican Congress, because they're just gonna be like, oh, cocaine is fun. Yeah, let's do it. I have zero self-control.
So tell everybody the voices that we're about to hear. Is it Jim Jordan first? Is that the yokel? It is
Jim Jordan
different
first.
Yokel? Okay.
Cormer is Jim Jordan is the chair. Cormer is the guy who is
Comer.
Actually asking.
Right?
Comer. There we go.
Comer.
Yeah. Comer.
Rhymes with Gomer.
Not Gomer. Not everyone's favorite white supremacist representative. No, this guy. This is another guy with a similar sounding name.
So you'll hear him, and then you'll hear Raskin pointing out. Well, that's interesting, because if we could have done that, things would have been a lot different. So here we go.
As I think we've notified the committee, and we've had these conversations with Twitter as well to try to resolve this issue prior to coming up here today, I don't have anything in writing that clears me in my ethical responsibilities to my former client with respect to answering questions that I think fall squarely within the attorney-client privilege. So unfortunately, I don't think I can go beyond what I've said there already, sir.
Unfortunately, Mr. Baker, your assertion that the attorney-client privilege, it's overruled as to this particular question and answer. So will you please answer the question by Mr. Jordan?
Point of order, Mr. Chairman.
State your point.
As I understand it, because we just went through this in the January 6th committee where multiple witnesses asserted attorney-client privilege, including people who weren't covered by it at all. Ultimately, that's for a court to decide. So I don't think there's anything we can do within the committee at this point, unless I'm missing something.
We'll give you one more chance to answer the question. If you don't answer it, then we'll have to deal with it after the committee hearing. Mr. Baker, could you
Yes,
answer
sir,
the question,
I
please?
apologize, but I believe I have ethical responsibilities to my former client, and I don't think I can go beyond what I've said already, unfortunately.
Yeah, I just said that. I'm an idiot.
I love how, like, you can hear at the end, I'm an idiot.
So
Jesus.
Comer
Jesus.
is from southern Kentucky, basically. Like, his district is, I mean, I'm looking at it right now on my screen. It's like, it's a gerrymandered fucking disaster, but it rides along like 2/3 of the top of Tennessee from the Mississippi River all the way like halfway to Knoxville, basically, and then it reaches up toward the top of the state. It goes all the way to the top of the state to Evansville, being on the other side of the river, and then it like dips and has nothing the fuck to do with Elizabethtown and Bowling Green and Glasgow, but then it shoves its bizarre gelatinous dick all the way up and grabs Frankfort, and then falls right off before the Daniel Boone National Forest. So if you know any of that geography,
None of those places have anything in common.
they don't have anything in common, but also the complete and total shit heel conversation that you just witnessed makes total sense when you take into account the places Murray, Hopkinsville, Campbellsville. I mean, really, the only civilized place in his district is Frankfort.
Yeah,
So,
pretty much every. I don't know if you've ever driven through that part of Kentucky. I once had the opportunity to drive through that part of
yes, I
Kentucky.
have.
No, I'm asking our viewers. I'm like, I once had the opportunity to drive through that part of Kentucky during Christmas time.
Oh god!
And one of the interesting things I learned is that apparently lynching Santa in effigy for being a Catholic pagan idol is a pastime, apparently, in those environs of rural Kentucky. This is who we're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's fun. I'm gonna lighten the mood and talking about Madonna's face. So, all right. So the Grammys happened. I didn't realize they were coming at us, and then I was tipped off that the show was coming on Sunday. I was like, oh shit, yeah, that's cool. All right, I'll watch it. I love all kinds of music. A lot of people are cynical about award shows. I think there's a place for these contests among peers in certain industries that makes it interesting for arts. I think there's different levels of legitimacy. I believe the Grammys have done a decent job at rescuing themselves from the abyss of losing legitimacy. But two things that came out of this past Sunday that people have heard a lot of buzz about. One is Madonna's face, and I've seen a lot of things going back and forth on the internet in this discussion. Basically, like, Madonna decided that alien baby would be her general appearance. Like, either that or that she's a vampire now. Like, I haven't figured it out, but she's got so much like weird plastic surgery / filler shit going on. And
I felt like that was Botox gone wrong. I felt like she probably went in for an injection like the morning of.
no, it looks like
And-
someone smeared Botox on a bed of nails, put it inside a door in a dark room, and then she walked in unknowingly and face planted directly the fuck into it, and then stayed there for a minute. And someone peeled her off and then sent her to the Grammys.
God damn.
So and what's funny is her whole
That wasn't shots fired. That was a tactical nuclear launch.
what's funny is her whole entire like rebuttal to society was, this is just misogyny and not valuing women that are over 45. But then she goes trying to like convert herself into someone who doesn't look over 45. The reality is, I don't like this because I wanted to see the diva of Madonna age naturally, gracefully, for real, like normal. You know, I'm cool with that. I think more people are cool with that than the whiners want to believe. This was just one of those attempts to like blame everybody else for what probably is a mental health, self-value kind of issue. I'm genuinely looking at it as a person that might be like not making the best choices. Now, am I concerned for Madonna? She's fucking rich and she'll take care of it. Like whatever, she'll do her.
Yeah.
I don't need to worry about it. I'm not worried for Madonna. I'm just thinking
She's not under conservatorship yet.
Yeah, like right. Yeah, it could be worse, Brittany. So the other funny thing was, I thought it was really cool because I am a casual Beyonce fan. That she's now become the top Grammy winner of all time. I think it's cool on a lot of levels. I'm not going to dive into it because these are short discussions. These are hot takes. But I thought that was great. And we get to the end of the night, and there's some spreading of the awards around a little bit. I'm not a huge Harry Styles fan, but I've listened now to the entire Harry Styles album that won. Yeah, it's fine. I mean, it's a fine pop album. I'm more looking forward to him in Marvel movies than I could ever give a shit about his music or that side of his life. But people were bitchy about how, that should have been Beyonce. And then there was the Bonnie Raitt thing. And that's the one that gets me the most because you had all these young, dumb fucks that like don't know anything about actual music in a larger linear scale going, who is this old lady this unknown blues singer? Like, oh my God. And also the song is fucking incredible. It's a really good song. And she usually records songs written by other people. This is a self-written song. The woman deserved to win the song award about songwriting. So I don't have any space for that, no patience for that. But also it's like, come on. The Beyonce got all these trophies and topped the record of all time. What the fuck do you want? And it just feeds into this constant frustration I have with how nothing's ever enough for a certain pain in the ass loud group of people. Like, good God, the record of all time, and you're still not fucking happy because you want to parse which awards were which.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things.
But we reached that part of the night, ladies and gentlemen, where David inevitably bumps into his camera, fucks up his shot, and spends the next 10 minutes goofing around.
This is my angry face.
Anyway, you were saying.
No, I mean, I often get into this thing where I argue with people like, oh, the internet's ruined things, like 24/7 news has ruined things. I'm like, you ought to have read some of the pamphlets that people were writing about, Jefferson and Adams. This hasn't gotten any worse. This has stayed just about the same. It's just a new medium.
Right. Yeah.
I will say the one thing that the internet has done is it's given smaller groups bigger microphones.
Oh God.
Yep. And sometimes I look at that and I'm like,
say the two guys that,
right,
that get together every week,
hi there,
do a live video just to bitch about the state of the world.
Right. Yeah, we use that. But yes, it has given smaller groups bigger microphones, and sometimes that comes off as just being fucking
Right.
annoying. And that happens.
Well, next up, Tennessee has decided to go full Bubba, and this is another one with multi prongs. But the the thing that struck me when you stacked up these stories, and then I looked at another story I was tipped off about, that Tennessee's trying to go full Bubba. You never go full Bubba, and
Jesus,
Tennessee
it's so bad. It's
really like, I think the Yahoos in control, the fucking right wing nutters that are in control in Tennessee sit around and watch reruns of Hee Haw as aspirational achievement television.
I mean,
So
it's
run down the
insanity.
list.
So, I mean, we're going to talk about the education part of it later.
Well, you can
later in the
summarize
show.
that one real quick to say that
Well,
you
which
know,
you had to. I mean, so
all you
Tennessee's
need to
now
know is that Tennessee is
refusing. They're now refusing federal funds for education.
no, not now. They have
but they're
floated
planning
a
to.
plan to refuse federal education dollars.
And I'm going to be honest. I'm not as sanguine that they're going to do that, simply because I don't think that they're prepared to shift that onus in the same way that they are. The one that they have already refused is federal health care dollars for women's health centers, because some of it may go to Planned Parenthood, and they do the abortions at Planned Parenthood, so we don't want any of that money. And so what they're doing
Isn't it just so interesting how this right wing lack of education, science, and health knowledge just continues to,
it just snowballs.
They
it's just
have
like
the
one thing
understanding
after another.
They have the understanding of vagina that could be offered by the average 10-year-old boy.
One of the best tweets
Like,
I've ever
it's
seen.
an input, it's an output. End of story. Like there's nothing else going on in women's healthcare whatsoever. Something goes in, something pops out. Ding ding, we're done.
Oh, but they don't even know what pops out. One of the best tweets I ever read was some woman who's like, I just talked to one of my male friends who has a PhD, and he asked me, how do women pee with a tampon in? I'm just like, society has failed you.
I'm telling you, Kang. We need Kang. Someone has to delete this timeline.
Yeah. Oh. But yes. So the reason. So they're self-funding $100 million to set up women's crisis pregnancy centers. Now, here, I want to point something out to you.
Never a good set of terms. Never.
Women's crisis pregnancy
almost nothing
centers.
named that is ever good.
Right. So one of the things that Planned Parenthood does is, if you need a pap smear, a woman can go to a Planned Parenthood clinic. If they need treatment for, say, ovarian cysts, yeast infections, all sorts of problems that only women have, because only women have vaginas, Planned Parenthood can help with that. They're designed primarily to do that. It isn't the abortion thing that they primarily do in most cases these days. It's mostly women's health. So one of the things that shocks me and that gets me pissed off about this idea is that these crisis pregnancy centers, number one, they can lie to you. They can lie to women and say, oh yes, we're fully medically trained. Most of them have never even passed an anatomy class. These are women who unlike that male PhD recipient that woman talked to, have never even passed an anatomy course,
right?
And don't even know what their own anatomy is. So they get to lie and say that they have some sort of medical training when they don't. And by the way, they can't be sued for it. In many conservative states, they've passed laws to protect these crisis pregnancy centers, Tennessee included, in their ability to lie to you, because they're like, well, there's a medical study someplace that says this. A medical study from where? Canyon fucking University?
Yeah.
Did Phoenix Online give you your degree?
No, they dropped out.
Oh, Jesus. I mean, so that's number one. So they don't provide women's health services. they can suggest women's health services, but these people do not even have a functional knowledge of it.
Well, and if they're religiously affiliated, my argument would be that, they're already walking through the door without telling the truth anyway. I mean,
yeah, in many
basing
cases,
a
I
whole
will say
clinic
this.
on imagination and mythology.
Arguably, yes. We can. Anyway, I mean, the entire purpose of these centers is to lie to women and not provide health services because
Right.
these guys don't even understand what that is. We at least here in Nashville, I have friends of friends who have been personally impacted by the state's new abortion laws. Who in at least one instance, what should have been an easily correctable medical issue turned into her losing her uterus because she had a miscarriage. And they should have just been able to be like, okay, we're just going to get the unformed, dead clump of cells out of you. But now they couldn't because even though there is no fucking heart, there's heart cells, and so therefore it falls under the heartbeat bill, and therefore they can't just evacuate it, right? They have to see if it'll pass naturally. And of course, while it's passing it isn't passing naturally, it's doing damage to her reproductive system. So a woman who wanted to have children can no longer have children.
Yep. But you know what, David? It's God's will.
It's
God's will.
And that's what always pisses me off. Jesus never talked about abortion. The rabbis talked about abortion in Talmud, in Jewish scripture. And I'm just going to point this out like I do every single time this comes up. The rabbis were fine with it. The rabbis said, save the mother, not the clump of cells inside. Deal with the person who's in front of you. That was rabbinical law. That was the law that Jesus of Nazareth would have been familiar with, which is why Jesus of Nazareth never talked about abortion. In fact, we don't have a lot of conversation about abortion being some sort of awful thing until we get well into the Middle Ages. So,
yeah, save the actual viable human and scrape out the deadly parasite.
Yeah, I always hate when they say it's God's will, and this always pisses me off because it's not God's will; it's their will. It's not. There is nothing in Scripture that addresses this. It's not God's will. It's just your will because you don't like women. Period. That's it. You can try and put, whatever shade of arsenic lipstick on the pig that you want on this.
Arsenic lipstick. I love it.
It ain't gonna work. All right,
so,
now on to the next thing.
So refusing federal funding so that Tennessee can teach people the Tennessee way, because that's automatically not a red flag. Sending women to completely just fake ass clinics, and thirdly,
and here we go. Tennessee has now passed a law that forbid. And again, people pointed out that this is a tactic pioneered by Satan, and Tennessee is now adopting it. So it's likely that this is in what's called the American Legislative Exchange Council, which is ALEC, which is a conservative think tank, which basically makes copy-paste legislation for Republican-dominated legislatures. So this is a very vague bill that simply says that there may not be any drag performances where children in public places where children may be present. There's no definition of what it considers a public place. There's no definition of all sorts of things. And people pointed out, what happens at Rocky Horror Picture Show, right? If you have shadow performers, like most Rocky Horror Picture Show events do.
Well, technically, I think that's a rated R movie, so you wouldn't.
It should be 18 and up, but could children be present?
17 in Tennessee.
Yeah. Could children be present though? That's the question that the law asks. Again, it's
also
intentionally vague.
That can be possible because you can come with a parent, unfortunately.
Yeah. So at that point, it may be illegal.
Right.
Obviously, no one. If someone dresses up in drag, I want to point out, Twelfth Night all of a sudden becomes Shakespeare becomes impossible to put on because guess what? There's actors in drag all over Shakespeare.
Yeah. Well, and if you think about it, there have been plenty of I mean, this is pretty typical of the right wing is we'll play around with something that as long as it's on our terms. There have been plenty of right wing adjacent gags of drag over the years. I mean, it just makes no sense. Like,
I mean,
what if you had a stage play of the Birdcage? Is the actor portraying the Republican congressperson in that storyline who has to disguise themselves in drag to get out of the club unnoticed at the end of that story? So, I mean,
and I want to be clear that in order to silence this, and they were they were kind of smart in how they wanted to silence this. They decided they wanted to silence this. Not that it is not a prosecutable offense to the person performing drag. That is not the issue. The venue is civilly responsible for this.
Yeah.
So
you know what that's for? Because the real problem they have is that they've got their little fucking panties all knotted up about drag queen story time. So what they want to be able to do is threaten libraries out of existence that
or any place that does a drag show as a fun thing.
But that's
Skull's Rainbow Room. Skull's Rainbow Room
right.
has drag shows. Oh, and granted, Skull's Rainbow Room should be only 21 and up, but you can go with a kid could go with their parent to go eat dinner because they have a really great menu.
Right. It's a full restaurant, bar, and entertainment space. So.
Yeah, and there might be a drag show. It's insanity. They are trying to soften it by saying, well, it's up to the discretion of the district attorney. And again, so Nashville does have its own district attorney, but again, I'm sure the state legislature is just gearing up to take that away. It's
another one of these play to the rotten knuckle dragging base things. Last up. Some people may have no idea what in the blue hell we're talking about.
This is not a dark thing. This was our funny thing because I'm doing the heavy lifting for hot take. This
Keanu Mysons. You might be asking yourself, what in the fuck is a Keanu Myson?
So, for those of you who've been paying attention to popular culture and have been watching The Last of Us on HBO,
not me, apparently, like I'm the last person in the world. I am The Last of Us who haven't seen The Last of Us. That's I'm gonna try to binge the shit out of it soon, maybe this weekend.
It's only 4 episodes right now, dude. It'll take you no time at all.
I'm gonna try to get caught up. It should be right across home plate for me in the zombie genre and shit. I've just been slow to it because I lost interest in the video game pretty quickly, but I don't think that had anything to do with the quality of the game.
Like the acting is really good. I'll be honest, I wasn't a huge fan of the video game either, but I enjoy the show.
Well, and the cast is a big sell for me. I mean,
oh yeah, the cast is fucking wonderful.
Single fucking person in it is somebody that I already regard huge. So
yeah. So anyway, so for those of you who don't know, the premise of The Last of Us is that a fungus called cordyceps, which already infects insects and takes over their nervous system, evolves to infect humans and starts to take over. Like the entire series takes place many years after most of humanity's been infected and horrible things have happened. And just to clarify, like Walking Dead was very much a survival kind of thriller kind of moment. This, Last of Us places everything so far past the initial problem that it's more about people's relationships with each other and society than it is about zombies. Zombies are just sort of like an impetus towards what's happening.
Kind of where The Walking Dead ended up settling in its later seasons. Like, okay, the zombies are part of our universe. This is about the society and people that are now existing with that factor.
Right. So, but again, the idea is that, this fungus has infected people. Well, And one of the big premises of the show, and up until recently, has been kind of an actual issue that's been talked about, which is human beings don't have any sort of anti-fungicide that we can use to fight something like cordyceps. Well, a group of myceliologists, apparently, I think that's right, people who study fungus, have developed chianomycins. Now, why are they called chianomycins? Because
they're nerds. That's why, David, because these people are nerds.
Giant nerds. They have developed chianomycins, the reason they called it that is they're like, it kills everything so efficiently, it's like Keanu Reeves. So they named this group of chemicals chianomycins that coincidentally will stop cordyceps. They'll stop everything. So
they've invented
humanity
the
before
fungus
cordyceps infection actually happens. We've already developed the thing to kill them, and
they've
we have
the fungus
Keanu
world,
Reeves to
the
thank
fungus
for it.
world's version of John Wick, basically.
Right.
Everybody in the room is dead. Chianomycins. Oh, that's too fun. I actually think I want to find somebody with some footage of the tests of that happening. Just and then you take the microscope footage of it doing its thing, and then you just put the soundtrack of John Wick throwing down a room full of Russian thugs.
They showed some really cool pictures, which is like they had like strawberry plants that they left out.
Yeah.
And they sprayed like one half of the strawberry plant with the chianomycins and one half they didn't. And the side with the chianomycins still looked like strawberries, and the side without were all white and fungusy and stuff.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's really cool how effective they are. But they're really excited. They're like, no, and they made a point. They're like, people have been freaking out about whether or not humans can be infected with cordyceps. That's no longer a problem.
I'm kind of curious how this could, and it could go horribly wrong, but how it could adapt into a food additive scenario. Like, I can't tell you how many times, we've all been there. We've all brought bread home, and it was really not that old. Like 2 or 3 days into having it, there's mold, and you're like, well, fuck, what happened? And usually it came from Aldi, but it's still. I'm not knocking Aldi. I'll still go to Aldi all day, and you could take the bread back and say, hey, I only had this 2 days, and they'll give you another one, so it's fine. But like, could it help avoid those sorts of things?
And that's an important thing to know.
Or just poison all of us over a 10-year period of time. Who knows?
Who knows? But one of the things that is a issue going forward, ironically, a slight aside, and one of the things that biologists have been tracking is the fact that actually, as the Earth heats up and plants don't have to work as hard to harvest carbon dioxide because there's more carbon dioxide in the air, the amount of nutrients and calories we get per gram of food has actually been going down steadily. And so that means we have to, as the Earth heats up a little bit, we are going to have to grow more food and keep food longer in order to get the same level of nutrients. And one of the things that something like this might be able to provide is to help preserve food longer, so that we can get more utility out of it.
Okay, I can get behind that. Well, now, speaking of preserving things and getting utilities, let's drink. It's time to review some beers. Ladies and gentlemen, what you drinking? So I'll go first if you don't care, or whichever.
All you.
Okay, cool. I have no idea if I'm going to like this or not, but I've been sitting on it for a minute, and I thought it was finally time to break it out. And actually, to make a full confession, I had planned on picking up a beer or two that would get me stocked up for tonight and then another night for reviews. And I didn't get to do the thing. I was supposed to have a meeting with...
My camera's fucking up again.
Watching David struggle with focus issues is just always hysterical. Put your whole palm in front of the damn thing.
I know.
Pull it away. It should totally adjust for you. Mine just did the same. There you go. No, you're done. You're pulling away so slow, but you got it. You're good.
There it goes.
There you go.
I'm back in focus again.
You pulled away slow, ladies. So I decided to finally open my can of Cult Following from Scofflaw in Atlanta. This is an American IPA, 4%, so it's a nice, easy rider there. Runs a 3.52 average of 53 ratings, and you might be asking yourself, why in the hell does it only have 53 ratings if you've been hanging on to it for a while? Well, that's because this particular beer was adjacent to last fall's Dragon Con event in Atlanta. So it was released for Dragon Con as a special edition, available in and around the event venues as an alternative, because there's a mead that's the official special edition beverage.
Oh, it's got the little, it's got the carpet thing.
That's
going
the
on.
thing. It has the iconic Dragon Con carpet pattern. I've been sitting on this thing, and I thought it was cool. And we didn't ever crack it open. Or I think we cracked open one of them in one of my room party. I don't remember how many times we had parties. Anyway, brewed in celebration. Brewed in celebration of the iconic pattern, full of countless unforgettable memories, aka liquor spills, that became an icon and the inspiration for endless creativity, a true cult classic. They can take the carpet out of the building, but they can never take it out of your hearts. And so this is an IPA with Chinook, Citra, and Cascade. Now, I've seen mixed reviews, so I'm aware that this could go either way. And I have been sitting on it since September, so hopefully that hasn't done anything negative to it. But here we go. There was a lot of foam there. I'm going to take another dive. So one guy on Reddit said, "This is the worst beer I've ever had." That guy was wrong. It's not bad. It's mild, actually. It's
an American IPA.
Yeah, it's super light and mild. It's not.
It's 4%. It's in that session IPA category. I'm not going to call it a rut. It's a rut.
I'd say 12, 15 seconds in, there's a little bit of a bite in the aftertaste, but there's really not a lot of bitey, piney, or citrus or anything defined. It's just a slammable IPA, basically.
Yep.
Yeah. I wouldn't seek it out and say, oh, damn, what, scofflaw, what did you do to keep that recipe around? I want to drink that one all the time. I feel like this was a easy, quick, let's do something that's matched up to this event and put it out there, a little bit of a reach of the fan market, and move on with our lives. I don't think it was a great deal of intellectual, ponderous, intentional whatever. So it's not bad. It's not holy shit, I gotta have more of that. But finally got to crack it open and drink a beer that matches the rug that's right there. No one can see it in my shot, but it's right there. David, what you drinking?
That's a good question.
David and I were researching this, trying to figure out what the fuck to put in this bar for explanation, because it did not show up when we looked for it. So David has taken his best guess at exactly what he has. Do you want to? I'll give that quick explanation. That this may be a rebranding problem that we're running into. So, Fat Bottom acquired Music City Beer Company, and we think that this pitch is actually just the rebranded Pitch Invasion that was a Fat Bottom, but may have always been sort of a collaboration. We just didn't really think about it that way. But David and I were drinking Pitch Invasion together at Fat Bottom when I still lived in Nashville. It's been around for easily like 4 years, I would say. Like it came along with the whole soccer thing. But show that can off and tell people a bit about that beer.
So it's a little messed up because they didn't actually print on the can. It's just wrapped.
Oh, it's a clear wrap too. Huh.
Yeah.
It's kind of neat,
I will say this. So I looked up Pitch Invasion Lager, and it looks like the original recipe was actually higher alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
This is a little lower alcohol, which makes sense because if they transferred this from Fat Bottom to their Music City brewing company, outfit. And I want to say this is something the reason I'm doing this is because the sales guy who I'd been talking to, who he had been working from one brewery, he switched over to these folks, and he was like, we had such a great conversation. I'm like, hey, I want to go at, like, you dropped this off for me. I want to go ahead and, like, especially since a couple of shows ago, I was talking about doing more stuff with local beers because we have so many.
Yeah.
Instead of doing my super esoteric shit that I enjoy so much.
And by super esoteric, he not only means super esoteric, he also means that the combinations of letters that are required to print the names of everything he drinks in the last 6 months on the screen are almost unheard of in this country. And usually he'll send me the name so we can put it wherever we need to put it, and I'll reply with Gesundheit.
Pretty much. So I mean, I'm trying to do better. I will say this one thing that I understand the impetus and of why this is becoming a thing. I'm not entirely
which
sure I
thing is
support
becoming a thing?
mass doing it. So a lot of brewers in Nashville have been talking about, we're tired of seeding the ground of American light lager to Budweiser, to
right.
Coors, to
having the Budweiser alternative on hand.
Yeah,
we've talked about that a couple
tired of
times.
seeding the ground. And here's the problem that I have with that. The reason that existed as a thing was because no one bothered. It was partially because of Prohibition, and also because no one bothered to try. Budweiser is the result of no one trying. Coors Light is the result of no one trying. Rolling Rock is the result of no one trying. Yingling is the result of no one trying. It's, hey, I have a recipe and I'm just going to keep on mass producing this and cranking it out. And there's no artistry to this whatsoever. It is jug wine.
You forgot one. Busch.
Michelob? Schlitz?
Busch.
Oh, Bush. Oh, Jesus. No, that's not even beer. That's not even beer. But Bush and Icehouse are not even beer. That's just like
I'm gonna give them all the credit in the world for that damn advertising concept. Whoever came up with the Bush thing really nailed it.
Well, that'd be Adolphus Bush originally, but
no, I mean like the version that you see now, where they open the can and you hear the voice through the mountains go Bush. Yeah, and it just has like 1,000 H's, and it's fucking hysterical.
At any rate, I mean, I don't know. I understand, like, some people want to be like, I want to chase this market. You're chasing a market of a bunch of people who don't actually like beer. I don't necessarily know if I want these brewers to be chasing this market. Mostly because, you know, I can look at Tailgate and be like, you all make way too many IPAs. You all like do a lot of shitty things on a variety of places, but at least you all try to find new recipes. Now, when you all find good recipes, do you all hang on to them? No, you don't. You get distracted by the next, like you're like cats. You get distracted by the next leaf falling off the tree, and you go chase that. And I wish you all didn't. I don't know.
They have some rotating / seasonal things that come back around, but you're right. Like, I would say probably 75 to 90% of the stuff that you encounter at Tailgate, and a lot of breweries do this.
Yeah,
they go all in. They do this really neat, crazy thing, and it never happens again.
Right, and so I understand the impetus. Like, they want to chase after this beer, this idea of this beer drinker. I don't think they understand what the relationship is, though. Really, it isn't the taste of Bud or Busch or Coors Light that those people like. They don't care about the taste. If they cared about the taste, then they wouldn't be drinking that thing. What they care about is some sort of normal. What they're buying is normalcy. What they feel is normalcy.
Well, and cheapness, right? Like the price point is a big difference.
It's price and some idea of normalcy, conformity that they're chasing. I'm going to say this: is this a bad beer. No, this is a definitely slammable beer. I wish Music City Brewing Company would stretch themselves a little bit on this, though. I feel like they maybe have just a little, because when I'm tasting this, I feel like this originally was Pitch Invasion,
Mm-hmm.
but they've lightened it up a little.
Mm-hmm.
It's got they've muted and mellowed out the citrus notes just a little. They've muted the hop note significantly, and I feel like what's happening in this is by muting the hop note, muting that bitter note that you would have normally had in Pitch Invasion. It's made those citrus notes stand out a little bit more because you're getting the malt doesn't like it when you have a bitter note and a citrus note, they're very close together, right? When you have a malt and citrus note, they stand
Yeah.
out apart from one another.
Right.
And so when you mute that bitterness from the hop, you're going to get a bigger citrus note if you're using generally the same ingredients. So I mean, it's kind of lemony, really, is what I get off of this.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, it's a little lemony. It's very refreshing. It's very good.
Well, and as a brand guy and a
I'm not going
respecter
to
of
kick it out of it.
collaborations,
Yeah,
I really dig the whole concept of, with people jumping on these Nashville soccer themed kind of concepts. That's kind of cool.
And I listen, I'm not trying to be down on Music City Brewing. I wish them the best on their journey. And I'm hopefully, I can go check out their tap room or something. I have some leave coming up, and I, hopefully can go visit it and see what's going on there. I think, though, the mentality behind why this is happening, though, because Tennessee Brew Works is doing the same thing with Urban Hitchhiker. They're gearing that up to do what they think is fighting this American domestic market and trying to push into that.
Right.
I don't know if that's really the way that you want to go, because the thing is, if you're drinking that, and this is my point, if you're drinking Budweiser, I've had Budweiser, I've had plenty of Budweiser, but I'm not drinking Budweiser. Like, if I'm drinking Budweiser, it's because that's the only option, and that's the least bad option that I have in front of me. Same with like Coors Light or Rolling Rock, whatever. Like anything not Bud Light. All right, it's because that's literally ass. And not like two big beautiful butt cheeks in your face ass. That's
not like Brazilian bikini contest ass, but like just the swamp from Swamp Ass.
Yes, it is Swamp Ass. It is awful. This is I feel like these are people who are making an attempt to sell something to someone who doesn't want it. And
that's a good summary. And I look at it as, a bad gateway, because where are you going to go from there? You get somebody into your brand, but that's the only thing that you offer, and they don't have the sophistication to appreciate anything else.
Yeah.
I would love to see some people jump on the soccer thing with a different kind of beer, because I've noticed that it seems like the presumption is that it should be, lagery or light. Well, what about like more of an English pubby style of beer?
For those who don't know, that's my nickname is pubby.
But like, something darker, something more ale. Seems like it would be much more of a UK.
I always, and one of the things is, I always believe that there's other ways to address the Budweiser, Bud Light drinker, and it isn't by selling them the same thing with a different label, because it's about saying, hey, if you're just looking to get blitzed, I've got this other thing that'll do it better and taste better. Or if you're just looking for a social beer, I've got this other thing that will taste better. You're looking at people who are looking at price and conformity when you are looking at people going after that market. And I just don't know if I understand the thought process behind it. I just don't know if it's going to work. This is still a really good beer. This is a really, really solid beer, at least in terms of, I'm like I said, I'm not going to kick it out of bed for eating crackers. It's a solid, fun beer. If I were buying this, watching the Nashville Soccer Club, I'd be fine with it. It's very refreshing, like especially if it's hot out. Yeah, this would be great. Slam like 4 or 5 of these, and you're having a good time. Especially at 4.1% ABV.
Yeah, right.
So
Well, good. I'm glad it's not a total loss, but I think you're right about a
Yeah.
lot of the philosophical approaches. I'm actually over here learning and realizing this fucker is foamy as hell. Like every time I sip out of it, it gets a little
Foamier?
foamy. Yeah, it's making it
You-
weird to drink. That might be my fault for sitting on it for so long.
it might be because it sat for so long that it may have conditioned a little bit in the can.
It just seems like it's hard to get a sip out of it that's mostly liquid.
It might have conditioned a little bit in the can.
Yeah. Could have been.
Which can happen. I'm a little pissed at Reds this month because I looked at the selection that they gave me for my Suds Club little free 6-pack, which this month was a 3-pack. And on top of it, I'm looking at the selection being like, this is all overstock, isn't it? This is no, and I know for a fact at least two of the beers they gave me. I'm like, these you've been bottling conditioning these for 2 years and you can't sell them. And they have a 3-year shelf life. You're clearing out the storeroom, aren't you? Yeah, you are. Fuck you, Alex. All right, on to the main topic because we are so far behind schedule.
I had to do a little peeking at the street a second ago because I heard something go boom, and it was the wind opening up trash can lids. That's nice.
Oh well,
So
at least it's not attacking your electrical grid.
Before we move too far away, we have one other substance to discuss.
Oh
as
God,
Brian
there we go.
so often
Brian.
will do for us, providing us a little news from the other side of the recreational enhancement market. So tonight, Brian is into some grape cake hybrid, sativa and indica, lacing it with some hybrid keef, not doing that delicate chemical ballet, or he's doing that delicate chemical ballet that makes me very aware and conscious of my surroundings and my place in the universe. But I really don't care whatsoever, dude. And I wasn't sure where this other comment came from, so I just assumed that it was also about the weed, sex in a canoe. Because I don't know where it went. So you'll have to clarify, Brian. Tell us where your sex in the canoe actually belonged. So let's move into the main deal.
I don't have any ideas.
The main deal for the evening. Uncle Joe and the hecklers of Dumbfuckistan. So in case you've been living under political rock, we had a State of the Union address this week, and Uncle Joe was, it was the Bush beer comment was the sex and canoe. Uncle Joe, I would say overperformed estimations, did the State of the Union thing. And David and I each agreed to come with some takeaways. And I'll go with my first observation that I want to highlight. And, we're not going to run down top to bottom. This is in no particular order. This is just ramblings on the topic.
This is just like quick fire. Like we're not gonna break this down.
Yeah,
like a la MSNBC or CNN.
Oh, God! These people talk about that shit for days.
The high points.
Yeah. So there was a hit that I really liked because there was this playful, verbally sparring version of Joe Biden, which I'm sure is terrifying to his staff because they don't know if there's going to be like some kind of, oh God, what's he going to say? But he did a good job with it. And the thing that I really enjoyed was how he was essentially fucking with the Republicans in the room over infrastructure and funding for projects, and how they'll vote against it to stick it to the libs, but then they'll be right there to ask for money for their projects in their districts. And he dropped this great line of, "I'll see you at the groundbreaking." Now, some of his delivery is different than the way I would do it, but I also have to remember that he's managing a lifelong, uphill climb against stuttering. I don't know what it's like to try to find the right inflection and get the words out. So I'm not going to ding him about that. He just sounded weirdly excited when he said the phrase. But "see you at the groundbreaking" was my first on my list of 3 highlights. Go find the clip if you want to see it. It's great. David, what's your top item on your list? Or your number one item on your list?
Again, I'm taking away general things from the speech. One of the main things that I saw that I heard was we need to reform taxation in the country. We need to. We've made a good first step in setting 15% as a minimum corporate tax rate. We've harmonized that with our other economic allies in Europe. This needs to be the absolute minimum that corporations should pay.
Yeah.
But there was one of the things that pissed me off about this entire idea of, well, we can't tax all these other things because it'll just be hard. And the only reason it's hard is because we keep on creating really, really stupid tax loopholes. That's the only reason it's hard. They're like, oh, well, you want to tax some of these unrealized gains? And yeah, I do, because if your stock went up this much, then that should be taxable. You have increased the wealth on which you draw money, because this is one of the things that pisses me off about how the Fed is handling things, about how a lot of economic organizations right now are handling things with regards to inflation, employment, everything else, is they're not recognizing the fact that the reason we got into this spot right now, the reason we got to this inflationary spot, the reason we got into all this is because if I sit on a bunch of stock that rises in value, I now have something I can borrow against at a very favorable rate as compared to everyone else. Joe Schmo, who wants to set up his bakery in my neighborhood, has to borrow at a much higher rate because he doesn't have as much collateral to put up to the bank.
Yeah.
These people constantly have this revolving door of, I borrow money and I use stock as collateral, just like Musk did, to borrow these ever increasing amounts of money from the bank, right? At extremely favorable rates. So one of the things that he talked about was we need to start looking at these avenues of, we need to start raising taxes on the wealthy. We need to start raising taxes on them in such a way that they are paying their fair share, and we can't let this game of, well, I only get paid $1 a year keep getting in the way.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and that kind of tied into my second note, which was there was an interesting anti-corporate mantra there for a hot minute. It's almost like it's like somebody just took his mic feed and gave it to Warren.
Right.
There were just so many points that came from the Warren playbook, maybe a little bit of the Bernie playbook. And for a minute there, I was a little thrown off, like, is this still Joe? Because these are very stick it to the corporate man kinds of ideas that I wholeheartedly approve of. But what the fuck? Like, I mean, jumping on hidden fees, and I loved his resort fee thing.
Yeah,
that was hysterical, because he's talking about getting rid of or banning resort fees at hotels, and he says some of them aren't even resorts. And it's so true, though. Like, it's very, very, very true. So there was a really cool little set of anti-corporate fuck yous. I feel like I'm very cynical about it. I feel like it was a checkbox of lip service that needed to be paid. And I feel like even if he were truly sincere, which I really don't expect from your standard issue corporate friendly Democrat, I don't see it ever happening. Like the stuff that you talked about sounds great, but of course it's not going to happen in, the house that we've got right now. So they're good ideas, but I don't see them going anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely felt like a sort of reaching to middle America sort of point of, hey, here's something for you.
Everybody
That's
hates
easy.
this. Let's talk about it.
That's easily digestible. I mean, it's things like it's the airline food joke, is what that felt like.
Yeah,
Which, speaking of middle America, that leads me to my second point of a big overarching topic, which was he seemed to do a pretty interesting tap dance of staying out of the culture wars. He didn't wander into trans. He didn't really wander into abortion. He didn't really wander into Black Lives Matter. I mean, he talked about policing reform, but for the most part, he stayed well away from anything that would have sounded too progressive. He wanted it definitely felt like he wanted to reach back to that more socially conservative blue collar voter in a very discreet way by not bringing up things that make them uncomfortable, right? By not bringing up things that make them feel iffy about things like, oh, the gays, them,
right,
or feminists, or any of the rest of that. He stayed away very. I think I felt like he stayed away very pointedly from that. I understand the reasoning. Do I support it necessarily? I mean, at least in terms of electoral math. I mean, if you want to go fight in Western Pennsylvania or Ohio or some of these places, yeah, I get it. I did feel a little like it was seeding the ground. That's a lot of foam.
I went to get a Stein so that I could try to deal with the phenomenon of this situation.
And you failed. You failed horribly.
And I poured it really slow and carefully too, and it still did that. So anyway, this is me trying to find a way to actually drink the rest of this beer.
But yeah, and
I think you're right about that, and I think that might be why he stayed away. Well, he didn't really stay away from the police brutality concept, but he didn't get super
touched
in the
it.
Weeds. Yeah,
he touched. Literally, it was like it was a drive-through moment. It was. I'm going to place my order. I'm going to go around the circle. I'm going to grab my order, and then I'm going to leave. We're not going to stay in the restaurant at all. We're not going to be.
He sniffed the Black Lives Matter hair, but didn't hug it.
Yeah,
that's really that's the Joe analogy. The Joe analogy to
he did not get his face all in that afro.
Oh, damn. I remember the show before we got canceled.
It's Joe.
I remember the glory days before David's people came for us.
My people? What the fuck?
Yeah, I'm gonna always make you own the hyper woke. I think sometime after the show tonight, I'll be able to drink this beer. So, it really looks like the last beer that they don't give you that was from right before the keg popped or right when the keg started. Yeah. So, all right. My third one was the damn balloon. That was the only thing I felt was missing. Now there are some, various fucking redneck government folks at various levels saying, well, we're still being left in the dark. We're not getting the transparency and the information that we need because they don't really understand. There is no information. We just dragged it out of the water a few days ago. You're not going to get a play-by-play of the top secret national security proceedings that are occurring right now. At some point in time, the government will give you a fucking summary of what you need to know. But I did think that, he could have done something with it, whether it was gloat a little bit, because the Republicans had tried to paint him as a pussy for not immediately going Yosemite Sam on it and having it blow up and fall on everybody. It would have been nice to have him say something about,
Which, by the way, if it had, they still would have tried to make political hay about that, being
of
like,
course.
"Oh, he's reckless.
Right.
He's old and crazy."
Right. Yeah. It would, no matter what, there's no pleasing them. And anyway, he really could have mentioned it either as a gloat about like, look, we can do stuff with guns as well, or maybe do a little bit of rubbing it in China's face, which would be very specifically.
Which again,
tailored.
that was a no-win scenario. It's either you're irrational with your foreign policy, or you're weak with your. I mean, like they were going to turn that into something bad no matter what. I mean, that's just simply how that was going to work.
Right. I mean, I almost feel like he could have turned it into. If it had been me, I'd have turned it into a joke and made fun of them and said something along the lines of, I know that my friends on the other side probably believe that the Chinese balloon was carrying fentanyl, since they seem to think everything has fentanyl in it.
Yeah,
but we did finally shoot it down. Something like that. But anyway, those were my observations. What was your last one?
My last one was a little bit technical.
Really,
he brought it up.
You
right?
Technical?
Me technical?
What?
It was the focus on domestic production without focusing on why domestic production isn't working right now. Which kind of tweaked me a little. I really wish he would have focused on, hey, one of the reasons domestic production isn't working like it should, domestic manufacturing, like, oh yeah, we brought all these manufacturing jobs back, but without focusing on the fact that they're not providing the middle class wages that they should. And part of the reason they're not providing the middle class wages that they should is because they're trying to make stuff. So I'm going to be as brief on this as I can. This is an economic theory called competitive advantage, right? And this is Adam Smith. This is all the way back in the 18th century. Adam Smith talking about competitive advantage. And Adam Smith, his classic example was always, let's say England is very good at making wine and Portugal is very good at making cloth. The reason, just to clarify, the reason he made that example was because it's the inverse. At the time, Portugal was very famous for making a lot of wine. England was very famous for making a lot of cloth. But he said, let's invert this. England makes a lot of wine. Portugal makes a lot of cloth. England is better at making wine than cloth. Portugal is better at making at cloth than wine. England should not sit here and try and make both wine and cloth. It can make wine better, more efficiently, and trade Portugal for a superior amount of cloth, which Portugal, likewise, should make more cloth than wine. The problem that we are having a little bit in America is that, for instance, cars, right? We should not be making dashboard assemblies in the United States. Why? Because it doesn't take a lot of machinery. It doesn't take a lot of capital input. We can make bigger things more efficiently and better, right? And we should be focusing on that. And what the problem is that those bigger things take more capital. And one of the ironies of the stupidity of how we've gotten into this inflationary pocket, of how we've gotten into this income inequality pocket, is this. The way you solve that is you take, I have $100 million. I should invest $50 million in building a new solar panel factory. Not just any solar panel factory, a hyper-efficient solar panel factory that makes hyper-efficient solar panels. Do they cost more? Yes, but they also produce more electricity. Right? So every solar panel you get more electricity out of. So you need less solar panels. That's the sort of thing that the United States should be rocking out on, right? Just going all sorts of like John Holmes style on everyone, just flopping it around, smacking him in the face with it, just going nuts.
Yeah.
And the problem is that you actually have to spend money, right? You have to actually take your money today and know that you're not going to get an immediate return until 5-6 years down the line when you get a lot more money, right?
Yeah.
Because people have said, "Oh, I don't need that, that gas-powered uh, electricity plant. I don't need that, gas-powered
right.
electrical generator. I don't need that propane-powered electrical generator. I can put these solar panels up and power my home. It'll be great. I don't need same thing with battery technology, right? We should be rocking out on lithium alternative batteries. And there's a lot of researchers out there trying to be like, hey, lithium sucks. It's a heavy metal. It's poisonous. There's not a lot of it. We should be using these other things to make batteries. We need money to research that and completely replace all batteries. But that takes money. And the greed that is so violently gripped America's capitalist class has prevented that. We used to be leaders in research and development.
Incredibly immature adolescent style of greed thinking. It's right now for me, and there's no foresight. And of course we see this in the political activities and theories on the right as well. I mean, just generally speaking, there doesn't appear to be any ability to look forward, but then the talking points are all the same, like, I don't want an inheritance tax because I'm trying to leave something for my kids. Well, I don't know what they're going to spend your money on when you burn down their fucking planet.
It's stupid and it's bad. And one of the things that I hoped that he would touch on, but he wanted to go into this aspect of, we're improving infrastructure, we're bringing manufacturing jobs back. But what he didn't lean on was, and one of the things that makes me mad at the Democratic Party is, we should be leaning on the Green New Deal. We should be leaning on an industrial policy that says, okay, we're going to, you want to build, first of all, you want to build a solar power, a solar panel plant. Here's a tax cut. But more importantly, if you spend money on improving those solar panels, here's another tax cut. Like a big development that just came out a couple of days ago is they've developed a chemical process. One of the expenses of wind turbine manufacture has been the fact that if a wind turbine blade, which they do wear out, right? You just had to trash it and put on a new one. No, not anymore. They can chemically rehabilitate the wind turbine blade back into functioning status, so we don't have to continue to produce new wind turbine blades.
So
the thing is, that's the sort of stuff.
Is that something that has to be done on site or off site?
You have to take the blade down. You have to take it down and chemically treat it. But we can now restore these wind turbine blades,
but on
back
site.
to. I doubt it's on site.
Okay.
That's not really an on-site thing. Now,
because where I'm going with that is to if anybody's ever seen it, those things, from your car when you're driving down the highway, they don't look that big.
They're huge.
They're fucking massive.
Huge.
They take a very large flatbed to haul. I think it's half. I think it's one stick of the whole blade. It's fascinating to see it, but I
mean, it's stuff like that where we are in it. Where the problem is that the reason manufacturing jobs aren't paying the same as they used to is because we're giving them jobs that would have been middle class in the 1950s,
right,
not in the 21st century. And the problem is the 21st century jobs we should be encouraging in manufacturing, 21st century manufacturing, which isn't just robot arms and all this shit. There's a lot of human input that needs to go into those. But instead of looking at the capitalist class that we have currently in the United States and saying, no, you need to stop playing around with financial instruments just so you can stroke off onto a bed of hundos. You need to you need to actually take that money and put it into, here's a next gen tool and die factory that's, instead of using that is taking, like, I don't know, worn out pliers and reforging them into stronger, better pliers, things like that. I mean, we are doing that, right? We're letting the Chinese and we're letting
spend all our time trying to find cheaper, shittier pliers that can be sold for a higher margin.
We're letting people like India take the lead on things like finding replacements for traditional toxic coolants for air conditioners. How the hell are we doing that? How the hell are we letting India, which is a country which I want to point out, still the majority of the population is still agrarian. In other words, the majority of the population of India still lives hand to mouth from small little plots of land feeding themselves, but they're the ones taking the lead in finding replacements for toxic refrigerants.
It's wild.
How the hell?
It's wild. Well, the other highlight, of course, universal to all these points, were the reminders that, I mean, basically the decorum that I grew up with, that we probably both grew up with, and generations before us, it's gone. We're full idiocracy, just about. You know, it was like a big gasp moment when that situation occurred with Barack Obama, where someone actually yelled and heckled. I forgot the fucking asshole's name. They talked about him a lot going into this State of the Union and coming out of it. But now it's like 100% normal and expected that these various and sundry shitheels on the right are gonna groan and interrupt and yell. They're just gonna do their level best trash act, and of course, the best trash act in the room.
Representative Wilson from Missouri, by the way, is the name.
There you go. See, that's why we have to have David involved to make sure that the history is right. When he remembers how to pronounce various congressional names.
Fuck off.
So my favorite
I
comedy,
pronounced that right, didn't I?
Yes, you did. My favorite comedy to come out of the State of the Union was this meme running around, and I saw a low quality version of it, and I just had to make a high quality version of it. And I have yet to not laugh when I see this image running around the internet this week. It's just so damn perfect. I mean, this just nails it. 100% nails it.
Well, I want to point out, you know why she wore white?
I mean, I could think of so many responses from.
I mean, someone obviously suggested this to her.
From the Klan to just
no.
standing out.
So a bunch of women wore white to one of Trump's speeches. Well, State of the Union speeches, and the thing is, Republicans didn't understand why they wore white. It was the commemoration of 100 years since the passage of women's suffrage.
Oh, okay. I think I do remember that happening.
Yeah, and so Marjorie Taylor Greene thinks, well, I'm going to wear white as defiance. I'm like, it wasn't an act of defiance so much as an act of commemoration of 100 years of women's suffrage. One of the things that the party you now work for would like to do away with.
Yeah, roll that shit back.
So, I mean, it's this. It's literally like a chimpanzee mimicking a human doing things, right? Like, no, it's like the chimp at the zoo grabbing the broom and sweeping its enclosure because it's used to seeing the human sweep the enclosure, right? Because it all it understands to do is to literally ape the movements of whatever it's doing as some sort of like, oh, this is what we're supposed to do. So she's wearing white, and I don't think she understands why, but it was very to me it was very obvious that she was trying to mock the the massive number of women Democratic members of Congress who wore white to that State of the Union in commemoration of 100 years of women's suffrage.
Well, I haven't been able to read it yet, but on my list is a Atlantic article. Why is Marjorie Taylor Greene like this? On the ground in the Georgia Congresswoman's alternate universe. And
no, I can answer that question really easy for you.
It's a piece from December, so it's not new, but I do intend to try to.
As I've said several times on the show, I've talked to members of her campaign. She's not actually like this. She is an empty basket, right? She has no opinions on any of this. She does everything she does for YouTube likes, for Twitter likes, for followers. She knows that her behavior generates attention. She's very much like Trump. She understands that what she does gets attention.
Yeah.
And therefore she does the thing that she thinks will get the most attention. She has no opinion on taxation. She has no opinion on African Americans, on women, on anything else. She is an empty vessel into which is simply poured social media.
Well, speaking of empty vessels with dead eyes and nothing but conservative, wacky talking points, after the adults were talking, there, of course, had to be a Republican response. This is David's pet topic for the evening, and this will carry us into the final stretch. But the GQP response, and I've been referring to Sarah Huckabee Sanders as a Muppet for many years.
Yeah,
because she looks like a Muppet.
I'm speaking her language. I'm doing my best animal impersonation.
So the unhinged twatty Muppet. I mean, this woman, like, I've been around long enough to have seen a whole lot of Republican responses. In fact, I would say
I've even seen some intelligent ones. I want to point out.
Yeah.
I've even seen some that were not awful. Romney, Tim Scott, when you couldn't tell that the leash was on his neck.
No, you're right. They haven't all been unhinged and crazy, and even the ones that were a little unhinged were still, your father's Republican Party kind of vibe, like the stuff that you would expect. The slight differences in fiscal opinions and the vast differences in social opinions, etc. But this garbage, this drool that flowed out of Huckabee Jr.'s mouth, it was some special fucking empty bullshit.
Yeah, I'm gonna go down 3 big hit points for this. So number 1, education. She's made a big deal about, we're getting rid of CRT, we're getting Latinx, which I'm going to go into that. Some of that is going to go into point number 2. But one of the big points that Republicans have been doing, and in Tennessee, one of the things I alluded to was Tennessee is now also looking to get away from federal funding of education, so that they can build their own land of stupid.
Yeah, pretty much.
Now, one of the things that would have just sounded bad generally after what DeSatan has done in the Florida Reich, and how he's treated that. But I want to point out Arizona has actually been ahead of them under Governor Doucheface when he and the asshat Arizona legislature passed a bill that basically said, well, whatever we would have paid your local school district to have your kid as a student, we'll just write you a check if you don't want your kid to go to public school. And you can homeschool them with this money, right? This is the dumbest fucking idea that I've ever heard in my entire fucking life. And lo and behold, it's turned out about like you'd expect. Number one, a bunch of parents didn't homeschool their kids. They took the money. They left their kid at home.
Yeah.
No parent, by the way.
The home part happened. The school part, not so much.
They left their kid at home because they both needed to work, right? Because that's how capitalist America works. It's really funny that they keep on being like, more capitalism. You know, you need to get out there and earn. Unless you're a woman, at which point you need to earn money and educate your child and do the housework. And there's not 48 hours in a day? Is that not a real thing?
Right.
They must be feminists. Anyway, back to the point. So a lot of people just took their kids out of school, right? And then all of a sudden you started seeing these very strange, similar amounts being put down for vacations, new cars, home improvements. Huh. Oh, and one of the pointed bits of this report was trampoline sales went through the roof. Why? Because you've got to keep the kid entertained. Trampoline sales. There was a dearth of the ability of people to buy trampolines in the state of Arizona because these parents were taking the check that was supposed to educate their child and going and buying a trampoline so they could sit and jump on the trampoline while they spent the money.
Because of course.
This is what conservatives do not care about education at all. Period.
Well, anything that's outside of the
it's a vicious lie.
Anything that's outside of the realm of their, traditional hand-me-down bullshit rumors, speculations, and prejudices, it's not of interest. Anything that broadens to the outer universe from their small town or their county. And I mean, how many times have you noticed a discussion in any forum on any place of the internet where the very obvious vibe of, this person's never left their fucking shithole town. This person's never been outside their county. This person's never been outside their state. They don't want the influence of greater science, greater math, greater history.
Forget greater science, any of it. We're talking about basic reading and writing. We have the lowest literacy rate of any developed fucking country. We have the lowest reading level of any developed country.
Yeah.
One of the reasons why I get
they don't need to do better than me. I did just fine. That's the overarching theory.
I get paranoid about some of my jokes because I have to remind myself that while I actually paid attention in fucking school and read the required reading, half these motherfuckers don't know what Hound of the fucking Baskervilles is. They don't know Arthur Conan Doyle. They don't know Sherlock. They don't know anything. And you look at why Republicans are targeting libraries first, and it's because they have never read English fucking literature. You look at things like this Tennessee bill that's banning drag and being like, you all apparently don't realize that Shakespeare, almost every play that he put out, I mean, hell, Merchant of Venice, which you all should love because it's really fucking anti-Semitic. Right? You all should get like a hard-on visible from space for that shit. And instead, you would ban that because it has a bunch of drag in it.
Sure.
It's so stupid. It is so stupid. And it's like when I get into arguments with people online about law and I'm like, where'd you get your law degree? And they'd be like, I know the law. I'm like, no, you obviously don't. You never went to school for it. I like to call them, I like to call them thieves, because the thing is, they're trying to steal credit for something they never earned. It's like the people who play online doctor, and I'm like, did you earn a medical degree? No? Shut the fuck up.
Right. What else is on your Huckabee hit list?
Oh God! So next on the hit list is where Biden shied away from the culture wars.
Yeah.
Sanders. I mean, here's one of the shocking things: is normally when they do these responses, right? They have at least a decent idea of what's going to be talked about, and then they have a team of writers, sitting there during the State of the Union, fine-tuning and crafting the response, right? Again, Republicans don't do foresight very well. They obviously wrote this before the State of the Union, and then did no editing whatsoever.
And where Joe kind of deftly navigated around hard culture war ideas, Sanders just went pig in shit, or I guess in this case, Miss Piggy in shit.
Literally, that transmission is missing gears at this point, because she went straight from first to fourth, just slammed it all the way. She rode that clutch all the way through. I mean, it was insane. Like, we're not doing Biden sitting there being like, I'm not doing culture wars, and Sarah Sanders is like, I'm gonna galvanize the base and do more culture wars, and slammed straight through it. And went straight to this culture war narrative, which is what DeSantis is doing, which is what a lot of these people are doing, because they know it energizes the base. The problem that they have, and this is the thing, part of the choice of Sanders in the thinking was, well, she's not as Trumpy, but maybe she'll still touch a little bit of the Trumpy base. The problem is suburbia is tired of this bullshit, right?
Right.
It's tired of this really obviously bigoted meanness that's coming out of the GOP, and the insanity that's coming out of the GOP. And even she tried to be like, well, it's a choice between sane and crazy. I'm like, again, just like that.
You just have it backwards.
Right. That's the problem. Just like that congressional hearing where you should have already known the answer before you asked it, answer the question before you asked it. Did you know the answer to this question before you asked it? Because it really sounds like you didn't. Because America has repeatedly told you which side they think is crazy.
Well, and a lot of I've heard two things on this note in the last couple days. One of them was, it's clear that we don't have Republicans and Democrats anymore. We have crazy right-wing fringe and everybody else.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the big observations I had seen batted around. And the other really interesting observation that I heard in some of the pundit banter was they are convinced that they need to do all of these just dive off the deep end with no water, hard right slams, because they want to win primaries. And to your earlier point of, they don't ever seem to think ahead. They're going to win primaries. Yay. And then they're going to have their asses handed to them, because even the most pathetic dino, Democrat in name only, is going to wipe the walls with the crazies.
Yeah.
And that's, to me, why they also ride the other rail of trying to fuck with elections, because they understand that they can get their nut in place, but then their nut can't win unless they cheat the election system or the electorate in some way to make sure that their nut gets in. And then if the plan falls apart,
then all of a sudden we somehow cheated.
Oh, it's all cheating, and then it was rigged, and it's.
I mean, again, Arizona is a classic example, and honestly, it's likely that under the new government in Arizona, that they're going to turn around this whole, you get a check every year for your kid. They're going to be like, no, you can homeschool, will subsidize that to an extent, maybe, but you're sending, if you want, you're not getting a chick anymore. You send your kid to fucking school to learn how to read and goddamn fucking write and do basic fucking arithmetic. I can't tell you, people always complain, I don't know how I'm going to use this algebra. I'm like, I work in a restaurant and I have to use algebra on a daily basis to find percentages. Right? I'd be like, oh, okay, so I have this much over this much is equal to X over 100, or invert it, X over this is equal to this percent over 100, and now I have to do algebra to find the percentage, right?
Yeah.
And I know how to do that because I went to school.
See, you're better than me because I just pull up the percentage conversion website and type in the numbers because I'm lazy and I don't care. But
I mean, it's
your point remains.
It's gonna end. But anyway, so yeah, she dove straight into the goddamn culture wars like a out of control freight train on fire. And I don't understand why they went there. Partially because they wanted to lean into economic figures, which she also brought up. And the problem is that the State of the Union comes after the lowest unemployment in 50 years
and
the
largest
biggest
job
jobs
gains.
report in 50 years.
Yeah. There wasn't really a lot to go about for them.
And that's what tells me that they didn't edit the speech at all.
Yeah.
Because she still tries to lean on it and still manages to fuck it up. I'm just shocked. Like, well, it's incredible.
Well, take us home with your last hit.
My last hit is that where I'm going to find it right here. Where's the quote? You know what? I'm not going to do that quote because this other quote pisses me off more. This whole speech about healthcare in Arkansas.
Oh God.
And this is the stupid part.
The phrase "healthcare in Arkansas" just makes you already put your expectations like just way down there, and then okay, now that we've set those expectations, how bad is it going to be? I mean, it's just automatically a negative.
I mean, there's no, I'm not going to go to the other quote that pissed me off, but like this general idea pissed me off, which is she's crowing about like her healthcare. Arkansas ranks 50th out of 50 fucking states. In other words, fucking Alabama is doing better than you. Kentucky, which does not even have a major metropolitan city, is doing better than you. West Virginia is doing better than you. Texas, where they actively want you to die by shutting off your power and hoping you freeze to death, is doing better than you. You are 50th. Oh, or better yet, Mississippi, which literally wants to pretend like it's still in the Civil fucking War, is doing better than you. You are 50th in the nation in healthcare outcomes. And you want to crow about, oh, well, I got my cancer treated and my mom got her cervical cancer treated and all this. I'm like, the vast majority, more than 80% of your population has no viable access to modern health care. They can't even get preventative health care. But you want to go fight the culture wars. How long is it? You know, it's one of the interesting things that came out of the COVID pandemic is it's reasoned that one of the reasons why Biden won is that many more were almost within about a few tens of thousands. That many more Republicans died of COVID than Democrats.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's something we've talked about a few times here.
And I'm looking at these people being like, you can gerrymander all you fucking like. You can try and strip people of their ability to vote all you like.
When your sheer stupidity is costing you the lives of your voters. It's astonishing.
I mean, and for her to stand there and talk about health care when her state ranks the absolute last.
Yeah, it appears that they and Alabama stay locked in a battle for who can be worse in every ranking over the years. It's pretty interesting. I was just doing some some quick side numbers, and it's like, wow.
It's all liberal ranking. It's all the liberal. I'm like,
Yeah.
dude, here's what you need to do. I need you to stop crushing meth into your fucking Wheaties for like a day. I know it's readily available because it's the only source of income for a significant portion of your population. That or fucking pain relief, because God knows they can't go to the hospital and get fucking morphine. But I need you to take like a half step back, put the crystal aside, along with right where it normally goes on your table with the salt and pepper, and I need you to step back and take a look at yourself just a little.
It's I mean, the whole exercise was just I don't know. I looked at it kind of almost like, this is the best you guys can do right now.
Remember, she was press secretary, and part of the reason she stopped being press secretary is because the press used her like the inverse of William Tell. Fuck the apple. I'm just I'm painting. I'm like, all right. So you got the eye last time. I'll bet you I can put an arrow through your arrow in the eye. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, those were the days when she would just come in there and get owned and just looked like such a dumb fuck. But then, of course, in true Q fashion, she just goes on to see political success. It's just
because it's Arkansas,
amazing.
and the problem is that the Republicans had Asa Hutchinson pegged as a traitor for a while. And I want to say Asa Hutchinson was a guy who genuinely would have been at home in an all-white country club with nothing but black servants in white gloves serving him. I mean, Asa Hutchinson was by no means a moderate or a progressive or a rhino or anything else. The problem was Asa Hutchinson also was not a complete fucking loon.
Yep.
Right? He was an asshole.
I remember the first time I was watching
fucking asshole.
The news during the pandemic, and somebody said the governor of Arkansas is going to be on talking about their state's response, and I thought, oh fuck, where's this gonna go? And then he got on, and I was like, oh, he's not a dumbass.
No, I mean, Asa Hutchinson, just like fucking Hunt out of Utah and some of these other people, are they giant assholes? Oh yeah. Romney's an asshole,
sure,
without question. Yeah. But are they insane? No.
Right.
And that's the problem that the modern Republican Party has, is because the modern Republican Party is the party of closed Facebook groups that trade anti-Semitic and bigoted memes. It is the party of Nick Fuentes trading conspiracy theories and white supremacist slogans. It is the party. I mean, they can look at Democrats all day long and be like, y'all are crazy. I'm like, do we have crazy here? Yeah, there's some crazy here. Are they the ones in the driver's seat?
Yeah.
Well, no, because if you look at Joe Biden is someone that both you and I feel like most people who watch our show be like,
yeah, right. Yeah. We're going to have to let Grandpa drive again.
Yeah, right. I mean, we're going 35 miles per hour on the freeway, and I'd really rather we at least approach the speed limit.
Right.
These are people who constantly want, what they want is to see society destroyed. They want chaos. They want anarchy. On the older side, they want some sort of violent counter revolution to make all these things that make them feel uncomfortable or less than go away. On the other side, they want an anarchic state where they feel like that all of a sudden, like, if only these people go away, I will suddenly thrive and be important and women will love me, and I won't have to keep on posting on the Reddit incel group. This is where these people are, and I think we need to acknowledge that's now the bread and butter of the Republican Party is this radical and again, I've talked about this before on the show, but they have turned into a party of accelerationism.
Oh yeah.
They want society to fail so that they can indulge in their most dark impulses.
Yeah. It's a
That's the response to the State of the Union that we got from Sarah Huckabee. Is this lifeline for people? You're your we want all the details. We want the dark age to come so that we can be like some sort of Warhammer 40K Space Marine and charge out and be like,
right. Yeah. Saviors of all of the culture. Well, my hopes for an intelligent response definitely were dashed. My hopes for an intelligent response to the unintelligent response, those were fulfilled tonight. That was a great rundown. It's time. It is that time. We're actually right about on time for our maximum for once. We haven't done this in a few weeks successfully.
We're working on it.
Yeah. Well, we're also trying to get the format dialed in so that we can bring in some guests. We've both been making lists of guests that would be interesting, people who have expressed that they would join us. So there's some cool stuff we could do there. Anyway, we do appreciate you joining us. If you come back, you watch later some other time, thanks for creeping. Feel free to join us live. Throw your comments in the mix. We always love hearing what people have to say. And give us a like, give us a follow, pass us around, tell your friend, tell your granny. Tell your granny so you can see if she's healthy or not. Because when she watches us, boy, that's going to test Granny. Depending on who Granny is. Send a link to your papaw if you think he needs a little jolt. Papaws everywhere. Getting a little jolt out of brewing controversy. And with that, it's time to go. It's time.
Serial killer.
Yes, I am. Yeah, that's it. That's exactly what's wrong with you. Well, it's time to bid you farewell. So with that, we say good night,
good evening, and
good
luck.
Bye-bye.